Okay, first of all, could you just this bit's not going to be broadcast, but just say who you are and how I should caption you?
I'm Stephen Dorrell, and probably the simplest caption is that I chair the NHS Confederation.
Stephen, you and I first met on the phone some years ago with young carers being left out of the Care and Support Bill, which later became the Care Act, the Children and Families Bill, which later became the Children and Families Act. Yet, according to young carers, things don't seem to have moved on. The law is there, but perhaps the professional willingness isn't.
I think what we've got here is an absolutely classic case of a very familiar phenomenon, which is that there's a tendency in Westminster and Whitehall to think you write a new piece of legislation, there you are, problem done, problem solved. Actually, that's the beginning of the process, not the end. And what's happened is the legislation has been improved, I think, in that young carers and the particular circumstances, needs of young carers have been identified and new duties have been created in law. But what we haven't seen is follow through in professional practice, and therefore, and most importantly, change of experience on the part of the people who play this essential role, vitally important role, are expected, as we were talking earlier, to behave as 40-year-olds when actually they're 15. And what we need to do is to have a proper development of practice by professionals, experienced by young carers, so that they receive the support that they need, and as a society all of us want to provide, but somehow between the wish and the action there's a gap that hasn't been filled.
Also, further to that, some have commented to us that the government's done a good thing by bringing in these acts, but at the same time it's cut the money. So you're set up to fail, in a sense.
This is always an argument. There's never enough money to do everything you want to do. So it is about priorities. It was famously said a long time ago that to govern is to choose. I think it was an Aaron Bevan that said the language of politics is the language of priorities. And surely to goodness, in a society that is seeking to develop more community support to enable people to lead lives in the community rather than failing in the community and having to have expensive and less good care in institutions, there cannot be a higher priority than ensuring that there is proper support for the carer community, for young carers, but actually, of course, this is a subset of a broader issue about providing proper support for carers so that we are a supportive, caring community.
In this programme, we're telling the story of Fern, who's a young carer, and she says specifically that what needs to happen is a conversation, just like you and I are having now. And she's tried, for example, and we'll be putting to the Minister elsewhere in the programme, that the new carers consultation strategy is all about online, and she finds the form incomprehensible as a 17-year-old. So what would your message be to professionals listening to this programme about how to make some real change for young carers?
Well, I think actually most people in caring professions don't need a former politician to tell them that it is, as you said, about a conversation. It's about support and being able to offer advice, but it's also about listening. A conversation is a two-way process, and developing professional practice so that they engage with young carers and listen to what the young carer needs and ensure that is provided. That's an intervention in the life of a particular family as well as the young carer that can make frankly, a far bigger difference very often than the writing of a prescription or some of the classic interventions, which are much easier to do because it just requires an action by the professional, and the person using the service is a recipient rather than a partner.
Thank you. Are there any other comments you'd like to make on the subject? Okay, brilliant. That's fine. Thanks.